Shalom. First and foremost, I want to give all praise, honor, and glory to the Most High, Yahweh, Ba'ashem Yahweh Shai, Ba'ashem Rakakadash, and I want to say Shalom to Yakinakwat out there pursuing this truth diligently. Coming at you once again with another lesson through the spirit and power of Yahweh, Ba'ashem Yahweh Shai, and additionally to that, a part 2 of This Truth Has Esau. Why did I type in losing his mind? All right, this truth has Esau losing his mind. I don't know how I ended up spelling it like that. I fucking hate it when people spell it losing. Anyway, I probably just typed it in fast and wasn't looking. But anyway, this truth has Esau losing his mind. This is part 2. Now, the first part we dealt with this effeminate fellow here, right? This individual that you see in the little pop out, all right, to the left here, dealing with this Jake, all right, this Jake with the dreadhead demon on him. But the guy, you know, despite having the dreadhead demon, the guy was still right about what he was talking about, all right? A broken clock is right twice a day, all right? Or once, depending if you have a digital or analog clock. Again, there's certain sayings that just have to have some context, man, all right? Because if you have a digital clock and it says 12 p.m., it's only 12 p.m. once a day. The other time it's going to be 12 a.m., right? But if it's analog clock and you're not, inferring that it's either a.m., p.m., technically it'd be twice a day. But anyway, it's like just one of those things that never really made sense to me. It's like the same thing with like George Carlin said, get on the plane. It's like, fuck you, I'm getting in the plane. Let Evel Knievel get on the plane. I'm getting in the plane. Right? Just, I don't know. Figures of speech. Kind of weird sometimes. But anyway, today we're dealing with this individual that's sitting here wearing the father's name on his hat. For what reason, I don't know. All right, it's not like this guy's a fucking Edomite at the end of the day, so I don't know. Really, I prefer if you'd get that name off your fucking head. All right, get my Lord's name out your damn hat. All right, I don't play with that shit. Because you got these Edomites that'll have the tetragrammaton or for something. For what? Why? He's not your Lord, man. Go worship Baal or Satan, however you do. That's what you do. All right, and it's clear because you don't understand the Bible. All right, this individual said, you're an Edomite, a white person. Israelites only, no whites allowed. And this individual is fucking dumb too, because it's not about being white or not. All right, he told Saint, look not on his stature or on his countenance, or, well, I got that backwards, but 1 Samuel 16:7. But the Lord said unto Samuel, look not on his countenance or on the height of his stature, because I have refused him. For the Lord seeth not as man seeth, for man looketh on the outward appearance, but the Lord looketh on the heart. Okay, and again, I'm an individual that looks like a so-called white man, but at the end of the day, I'm not an Edomite. So these are the type of individuals. You do have individuals out there that think skin color. Again, skin colors, that's all just... Skin color is not indicative of ethnicity, all right? We always mention that, and I try to push that out especially heavy because, again, you have these individuals that will just... And, again, the Apostle Tahara last year was pushing it out heavy. As a matter of fact, he got on one of the brothers because said, this Edomite, tried to, I don't know if they tried to run over a Jake or run over somebody in one of the camps or something, and he said, why are they an Edomite, though? Just because they're white? It could have been a Jake that got all upset. Right? So the Apostle hard pushes that as well. Very, very hard. And that's something that GMS, again, I'm not in GMS, but I teach the way they do because I learned the way that they teach, all right? Because I watch them. That's who I've been listening to for since I came in the truth, almost 7 years ago, right? So this guy's comment is already wrong. You're an Edomite white person. An Edomite / white person, not the same thing. You should say so-called, okay? Because we say so-called because, again, one, they're not white, and then two, an individual that looks like this might not be an Edomite, okay? It might not be an Edomite, but this guy's more than likely an Edomite because he got so upset about the Edomite shit. It's the same thing with those Jakes. When you see them getting so upset about the Edomite stuff, they could be a super coon, super sellout, but off time, they could also just be an Edomite, and that's why they're so upset about it, right? Those Jakes that you see, those so-called Jakes, you think they're Jakes, they're always trying to stick up for the white man. They're always trying to teach Gentile salvation. They're always doing this. They very well could just be an Edomite. All right. And again, you got to see with teaching Gentile salvation. Are they teaching like Hebrews, or are they teaching Christian style? Because the only way you can teach this true truth, all right, is through Yahweh Ba'ashem Yahweh Shai. Only Israelites can do that. But you can teach some Christian bullshit and be any nation, all right? Because again, in order to teach the truth, you have to have the Holy Spirit dealing with you, and the Holy Spirit is only on Israelites. The Lord only gives it to Israel. He's only dealing with Israel. That's what we're talking about today, is that the Lord only deals with Israel. Okay, regardless of what color you look like, he only deals with those that go back to the bloodline lineage of Israel. They're Abraham, Isaac, and Jacob. Okay, so it's not a skin color thing, it's a lineage thing, and that's what I wanted to touch on both of these. The other guy yesterday, we didn't really touch on skin color or ethnicity because he was busy talking about how Edomites weren't going to be destroyed, but then the brother threw a snare at him. All right, was it Amos? I believe it, Obadiah, Obadiah 1:18, a beautiful snare. And of course, because it said there shall not be one remaining surviving in the at least in the NSRV, there should not be one remaining or surviving, out of the house of Esau. All right, which he, and then the brother, and again, because he's likened to a brother, he has the hair situation that he needs to figure out, but he said, so before he had him get Obadiah 1:18, he said, can you define what survive means for me? He says, yeah, none. A survivor is someone who lives, all right, or continues to live. He said, okay, so go ahead and read Obadiah 1:18 for me, right? And got him in a snare. So that's what we were dealing with yesterday. But today is this individual that we're really not big on going to be talking about skin color or any of this. The only reason that comes up is because this guy is trying to say that Job was an Edomite, okay? And that's just not. And really, Edom, what do I want to say? Idumean heritage is not from skin color, it's from lineage, all right? Just like we go back to Jacob, well, they go back to Esau. They don't come back to Jacob. They go from Abraham, Isaac, all right? And that's it, all right? They're the one of the children of Isaac, all right, Esau, but they don't go through Jacob, all right? Jacob is an important part in that puzzle because that's what makes you the Israelite, right? Again, we're going to hammer that in, hammer it in, and hammer it in, all right? So, again, this individual doesn't know what they're talking about. They're alien formed. You're an Edomite white person. Israelites only. No whites allowed. It's not about being not white, all right, because there are plenty of white-looking individuals. And, again, this is the type of individual that'll let an Edomite around them, okay, because they'll have somebody that looks like Wesley Snipes come around, and they'll let them around, okay, and this individual's a terror. Okay, that's why you need to know about terrorists, because this guy, there's plenty of these people I've met that are the so-called black people. This fucking person's a terror, man. They're not black at all. All right, they act weird, they talk weird. A lot of the time they even look a little bit weird. There's a phenomena that I and my wife call terror eyes. All right, because it's something, you know how they say the eyes are the window of the soul. You can look into like some of these people's eyes, and you can tell that something's not quite right. It's not like it's like you're not looking into the eyes of a Jake. It's like you're looking into the eyes of an Edomite within the body of a Jake. And like me and my wife refer to that as terror eyes. I started calling it terror eyes, and then she's like, look, he's got terror eyes. And it's a thing. I can't explain. I don't know if you other brothers have seen that. You can just, there's something in the eyes. You can just tell that it's not you. It's not your people. You're not dealing with your people. You're dealing with someone else. There's a lot you can tell about someone in their eyes. All right. If they're fucking crazy, there's one of them. All right. If they're not mentally right, if they have demons on them, you can tell in their eyes become black and bulbous. All right, and pitch black, and they got like weird energy in them. You can tell a lot in the eyes. So that saying, the eyes are the window of soul, there's a lot in that, man. There's a lot in that. All right, but anyway, let's let this moron speak. All right, and then we're gonna, because again, he's gonna talk about Job being an Edomite, and again, they want Gentile salvation, they want Edomite salvation, they want to be saved. Like the lesson that the elder made here, almost said Apostle Slakia, and I know how he hates that. So I know he's an elder. I don't know why that always just comes out. I guess because I talk about the apostles a lot. But the elder Manat Zakba down there in GMS, South Carolina. Subscribe if you're not subscribed. Esau is triggered. This is his lesson. Esau is triggered and tries to circumvent his judgment. And they're trying to circumvent their judgment. They're trying to make it to where they don't get destroyed. And to them, that is just, white people. And that's why, again, why I try to make and it's not because I am a so-called white-looking person. That's why I push that so hard. The reason I push that is so hard is because a lot of our people still have an issue with skin, right? You still have a lot of our people that have an issue with even light-skinned Jake, all right? Light skin ain't the same as dark skin. Dark skin ain't the same. Oh, you yellow, or you're white, or you're red, or you brown skin. You're not really dark skin. Or you're light skin, or you're white. I'm black. And a lot of, it's not about that at the end of the day. It's not about skin color. It's not if you're black, you're white, or yellow, as I quoted the other day, that it don't matter if you're black or white. It don't matter, all right? At the end of the day, it matters if you're an Israelite or not, okay? And these guys, what they associate And again, not every Edomite is white, and that's why I try to say that. I say that so much in my lessons. Not every Edomite is white. Not every Edomite is white. Not every Jake is going to look like. Well, really, it was Apostle Gabar that coined the slogan. Not every Israelite's going to look like John Shaft. And when he said that, he said a lot of the people in the school were very pissed off at him, right? If I remember correctly. And I try to push that as heavy as possible over and over and over again in my lessons, because a lot of people think white is Esau. Esau is white. And no, we say so-called white, and most of the so-called white people you say, most, that's what we say. Most of the so-called white people you see are Edomites. But that most isn't all. Most is not all, okay? And I push that heavily in my lessons, and brothers out there push it heavy. I know the apostles push it heavy because, again, these Edomites try to associate that. They try, say, you don't like Edomite, you don't like white people. That's not what it is. And that's why we push this, is because they'll try to flip that narrative on us. They'll try to flip it and say, you don't like white people. It's not about white people. It's about Edomites. Well, you're calling the white people Edomites. The so-called white people are Edomites. Not all. Most, but not all. Well, you're saying that the white people, we never said that white people. We said the Edomites. Okay, so-called white people, Edomites, are going into captivity. Not all white. We never said all white people are going into captivity. All white people are going to be destroyed. No, all Edomites are going to be destroyed. All Edomites are going to go into captivity. All right, and that's why we try to push this out, because we're fighting back against a doctrine that they're trying to push, or a false narrative that they're trying to push against us, saying that, you just have something against white people. We don't have anything against white people. We have issues with Edomites. Okay, we prophesy against the Edomites, not the white people. We aren't sent to prophesy against the whites. We're here to or the blacks. All right, we aren't sent to teach the blacks. We aren't sent to teach Mexicans. We aren't sent to condemn Asians or condemn whites. All right, we're sent to condemn the nations: Esau, Moab, Ham. All right, Ammon, Ishmael, Amalek. All right, we're here to lift up the tribes, so-called Negroes, Latinos, and Native Americans, but Judah, Levi, Benjamin, Manasseh, Naphtali, Ephraim, all right, Issachar, Gad, so on and so forth, Asher, right? That's who we're here to lift up. Not blacks, not Mexicans, not whites, all right? And those are covering casts, as I just made a lesson on. So again, that's pushing that out. But Esau always tries to cling to the whiteness Edomite, because again, they associate Edomites with whiteness. And again, the leprous individuals, most of them that you see, a lot of them you see are Edomites. But with that, a lot of them aren't Edomites. All right, you got Eminem, not an Edomite. Elvis, not an Edomite. Who else? There's a bunch of people that I think. Dolores from the Cranberries. All right, she's dead now. Right? I think she was an Israelite. All right, and she's Irish, I believe. Irish rock band. Other people, I believe Ozzy Osbourne, all right, was more than likely a Jake. All right, he was just involved with an Amalekite woman. Okay, but he's considered the godfather of heavy metal. You don't just become that with not being a Jake. All right, not being a Jake. Then there's other individuals that were I do think were an Edomite, like for example Kurt Cobain. He was influential, but I do think that he was more than likely an Edomite. Janis Joplin, I don't know about her, right? She could have potentially been an Israelite, right? Certain people, I don't just give it away to everybody. Ozzy, there's a chance he could be an Edomite, but there's something about him, I think, the way he acted, I think he was just a fucked up Israelite. Okay, who else? Let's see. There's a few people. I can't think of anybody, right off the top of my mind. All right, but there's quite a few people that are actually, Israelites. All right, but they look some type of way, but it doesn't mean that they're some type of way. But anyway, that's all that. If you can't still get it, we're moving on. All right, if a ninja can't get it, we're moving on. Who was that? Was that I know the apostle always talked about that. Was that a saying of, I believe, the high priest Yaquab, I believe. If a ninja can't get it, we're moving on. So if you can't get it, we're moving on. But anyway, let's hear this moron speak, and then we're going to get some, we got this article, because even I talked to ChatGPT about it. It's bullshit, all right? And I mentioned it yesterday in the part 1 of what we're talking about today. I gave it away. This guy's talking about, there's some things in the Septuagint that talk about Job being an Edomite. Well, that was bullshit. All right, it wasn't a part of the original Hebrew scrolls, or the even in the original Greek. It was a commentary that was added on, man. All right, it was some bullshit. It's some bullshit. Like I mentioned yesterday, that's like if I took a book, opened it up, and I put in a sticky note at the I don't know that that's okay. Or if they made a book on Star Wars: A New Hope, all right, and I said Luke Skywalker dies, right? He really dies. He didn't really live at the end of the day. I could put that in there, but it doesn't make it true, right? It doesn't make it true. Bear with just a minute. My nose is bothering me. 1 minute. All right, slack you for that. All right, so we're back. So anyway, here's the video.
I'll put this black Hebrew Israelite
of the Edomites.
It's time to once and for all put this black Hebrew Israelite stuff to bed. I've been dealing with these.
And notice how he keeps on saying black Hebrew Israelite, right? Well, where is the whole black? When do you hear us referring to ourselves as black Hebrew Israelites? Am I a black Hebrew Israelite? Am I? Go on my page, look at me. Am I a black Hebrew Israelite? I would say no, probably not. Right? What about the Issacharite brothers out there? All right, the so-called Mexicans. All right, are they black Hebrew Israelites? All right, are they black Hebrew? What about the brother down there in Miami? All right, he's an Ephraimite. All right, a so-called Puerto Rican. All right, is he a black Hebrew Israelite?
Guys in this app for a little over a year now, and I've kind of just ignored them, but this comment was made on one of my wife's videos and says, "You're an Edomite / white person. Israelites only, no whites allowed." So basically these guys believe that anybody that is a son of Esau or an Edomite cannot enter into the kingdom of heaven, will not be resurrected. So what I'm going to do is show you just how ridiculous that is. And I'm going to use the Bible to do that. See, they don't actually read the scriptures, and that's why they make ridiculous claims like this and go on every white person who makes a video of the Bible, and they go and mock them and tell them they won't enter into the kingdom. I want you to see...
No, see, no, it's not that. You are going to enter in the kingdom, but you're going to enter in the kingdom in shackles and chains. And there's not going to be any slavery. There will be slavery, all right? And I guess if there's no slavery, then the Lord's a liar, huh? Because he said he was going to give us here. Let's go and get it. Let's go and get this. The Psalms 28. Psalms 2 and 8 through 9. Ask of me, and I shall give thee the heathen for thine inheritance, and the uttermost parts of the earth for thy possession. Thou shalt break them with a rod of iron, thou shalt dash them in pieces like a potter's vessel. So let's get this in the most popularized version. It's the most academically acclaimed and accepted version, which is going to be the NSRV, and they only have the updated version. It says... ask me, and I will make the nations your heritage, and the ends of the earth your possession. You shall break them with a rod of iron, and dash them in pieces like a potter's vessel. So what does this mean? What is Psalms 2 and 8? Let's ask. It'll probably go off. What does Psalm 2 and 8 mean? All right. At its core, it's a verse that from promise the Father to his anointed king, prophetically understood in Christian tradition as Yahushua the Messiah. That means that the ultimate authority and global domination belongs to the Lord's Son, whose kingdom will stretch. That's no, it's not what it's no. All right, what about the nations? All right, you shall dash them in pieces like a potter's vessel. All right, what is okay? Skip that one, right? Say that one's not talking about that, right? First of all, they don't understand any of the Bible. Well, here's another one. It's well, first of all, actually, if we go and get, let me see something. If you go up from 2, why did the heathen rage and people imagine a vain thing? The kings of the earth set themselves, and the rulers take counsel together against the Lord, against his anointed, saying, let us break their bands asunder and cast away their cords from us. He that sitteth in the heavens shall laugh, the Lord shall have them in derision. Then he shall speak unto them in his wrath, and vex them in his sore displeasure. Yet have I set my king upon my holy hill of Zion. I will declare the decree. The Lord hath said unto me, thou art my son, this day have I begotten thee. Okay, so we can see that it is talking about the son, but is it talking about, exactly what they're talking about? Let's see. It says, ask of me, and I shall give thee the heathen for that. So why didn't he say, if he's going to rule over the whole nation, why didn't it specifically say everybody? Okay, why did it specifically mention the heathen? And then why in 2 did it specifically mention the heathen? This isn't about Yahushai ruling over everyone, which I mean he does as well. This is specifically dealing with the rule over the heathens. Okay, and what's going to happen to them? It doesn't, Anyway, and it's ruling all nations. Well, did he bash and dash, all the nations then, or the all nations, like even Israel, right? So, what I want to get from a Christian, if a Christian is here, this is what I want to ask you. If this is specifically, like Google said, dealing with everyone, all right, all nations referring to even the nation of Israel, because usually when you hear the nations, all right, that's specifically dealing with non-Israelite nations, i.e. heathens, okay, outsiders, okay, or as it would be in the Hebrew, goyim, all right, goyim, okay. So what is exactly being done here? Not according to Google, because we can see that it's mentioned the heathen. Why did he only mention the heathen? And then on top of that, why is it not mentioning all the whole nation, the whole world, if that's what it's talking about? Okay, that's my question. But anyway, it says, and asking me, I shall give thee the heathen for thine inheritance. Why the heathen? Why the heathen though? Why is it specifically talking about the heathen? Because we know in another scripture said, whose men. Here it is, John 17:6. All right, because this is talking about Israelites. John 17:6, and you can see it's in red letter. Yahushua speaking, who you would call Jesus in your ignorance. All right, again, not his name, and again, this is not the right doctrine. All right, so that you're trying to teach right now. So John 17:6, and it's not Yeshua either. It's not that either. It's Yahushua. All right, and the Father's name is Yahweh. You wouldn't know that, all right? It says John 17:6, and again, because those names are dreadful unto the heathen, all right? If you look in the scriptures, whose name is dreadful among the heathen, that's why you'll see them calling Yahuwah, Yahweh, Yeshua, Jehovah, but you'll never hear them calling them on Yahweh Shem Yahushai, because again, they're very fearful to them. They don't like the name. Something about it they just don't like. Malachi 1:14, but cursed be the deceiver which hath in his flock a male, and voweth and sacrifice unto the Lord a corrupt thing. For I am a great king, saith the Lord of hosts, and my name is dreadful among the heathen. So you're not going to hear that name coming out their mouth, because it's dreadful to them. But back in John 17:6, it says, I have manifested my name, thy name, unto the men. First of all, that also knows that the men that have the name, are going to be, I don't want to say it. The men that are actually serving the Lord, they're going to have the name, the true name, okay? John 17:6, I have manifested thy name unto the men which thou gavest me out of the world. Thine they were, and thou gavest them me, and they have kept thy word. So why, he has that specifically talking about that. Why is it talking about, why is he talking about this then? The heathen, why is it mentioning the heathen? Anyway, that's just a question I have for these Christians, because it doesn't add up, all right? It doesn't add up. And when using it in their, view, all right, it doesn't make sense. All right, this is specifically dealing with the heathen, all right, and the Lord's rule over the heathen, and what's going to happen to the heathen. This isn't dealing with everybody, okay, right? It's not dealing with everybody. It's specifically dealing with the heathen nations, okay? So in 8, ask of me, and I will see, but this is the problem. In the NRSV, all right, they say, I will give, I will make the nations your heritage. All right, that's the problem. Well, nations can be confused. Okay, nations can be confused for all nations. Nations, all right, is referring. If you, for example, here's how you can know it. You got to go back to the Hebrew. Okay, this is what you do. And the blue letter Bible goes off, but let's see if it goes off or it doesn't. Heathen. Oh, it goes back to the word goy. All right, or goyim, which means what? Usually of non-Hebrew people. Okay, there you go. Usually of non-Hebrew people, descendants of Abraham of Israel. Very almost never. All right, it's usually always referred to as the nations. All right, they say goyim, but it really means goyim. All right, well, that's how it's pronounced. Goyim, Gentile, heathen, nations. All right, that's what it's talking about. Okay, so, as a matter of fact, you can actually go back and you can go and look in for Psalms 2 and see if it's in here. It's just gonna be nation, people, but I mean it's goyim. All right, goyim. Let's see. Usually they have a little thing on the top. So nation, people, definitely of Israel. Let's see. Let's type Psalm. Psalm 2 isn't even in the list. I wonder why they omitted that. Right. Anyway, goyim. Okay, that's what this is talking about. Goyim. Okay, ask your local rabbi what goyim, all right, or goyar, all right. Ask him, all right. See how that goes. It says, "Ask me, and I shall give thee the heathen for thine inheritance, and the uttermost parts of the earth for thy possession." And he's what? Gonna handshake and love them and hug them and gonna accept them? What? What does it say? "Thou shalt break them with a rod of iron. Thou shalt dash them in pieces like a potter's vessel." There you go. There you go. And then it was a warning, all right, to the kings, all right? Be wise and be warned, right? So, and another one. Here's one. This is one you can't get around. Okay. This is Isaiah 14. This is really going to be an end time prophecy, right? Verse 14, King James, it says, "For the Lord will have mercy on Jacob and will yet choose Israel." Look at what it says in the NRSV. It says, "But the Lord will have compassion on Jacob and will again choose Israel," right? So going back to KJV, it says, "And set them in their own land, and the strangers shall be joined with them, and they shall cleave to the house of Jacob." Now, verse 1 over in NRSV says, "And set them in their own lands, and aliens will join them and attach themselves to the house of Jacob." So what is an alien? All right, an alien, okay? Someone not of, for example, think about Babylon, all right? They say a legal alien. What is an illegal alien? Someone who is not of this place, all right? They're not an American. They're somewhere else, all right? They're someone from somewhere else. So in this case, the strangers, all right, if you look into that word strangers, it's, referring to other nations, all right? We can prove that as well. Prove all things as the scriptures say. We can go and we can get this. Isaiah 14, go in here. Look for the word strangers, all right, which goes back to gare, all right, or gar. It means of foreigners in Israel through conceded right. So foreigners, they're not of Israel. They're not from Israel. They're a foreigner in the land, all right? They're, again, an alien, an outsider. They're not an Israelite, okay? They're not of Israel. So it says, this is where it really starts to heat up. It says, "And the stranger shall be joined with them, and they shall cleave to the house of Israel," or the house of Jacob, excuse me. "And they shall take them and bring them to their place, and the house of Israel shall possess them in the land of the Lord for servants and handmaids, and they shall take them captives, whose captives they were, and they shall rule over their oppressors." There you go. So what does it say here? Going all the way down in the NRSV. "But the Lord will have compassion on Jacob and will yet again choose Israel," as he always does, right? "And will settle them in their own land," Israel, "and aliens will join them and attach themselves to the house of Jacob." This isn't talking about little green men from Mars, right? It says, "And the nations will take them and bring them to their place, and the house of Israel will possess the nations as male and female slaves in the Lord's land. They will take captives those who were their captors and rule over those who oppressed them." Explain that one. Explain that one. If everyone's going to be in the kingdom of heaven, just happy-go-lucky, or there's another thing. If people are going to hell, right? How are we going to have our captives? All right. Because it said the nation of Israel, that us, we're going to rule over them, right? Not just the Lord, all right? The Lord's going to share his inheritance with us, and that's part of his inheritance. So explain that one, Edomite Christian.
Just how these people are. Before I do that, check this out.
He said, "We don't read our Bible." Well, guess what? You didn't, you don't know very well, but I bet you don't have a rebuttal to that one. You'll say, "Oh, that's not talking about that. That's talking about something else," right? That's what they always try to do. They try to get off topic. They try to bring it off somewhere else, right? Well, no, because again, like that guy said earlier, he said if something works somewhere, it's got to work everywhere. It can't just work in one place. All right. There's several scriptures about the nations going into captivity. The nations going into captivity, but there's not going to be any slaves in heaven. Well, it just said there was going to be in the land of the Lord. That's Israel. That's going to be the kingdom. So what are you talking about?
As if you didn't already have an idea based off the comment, now you really know what we're actually dealing with. But let's go ahead and put it all to rest. So, in the book of Job, you guys probably remember this book.
In the book of Job, you probably remember this book. I know you like sucking dick. Anyway, slack you for the vulgarity, brothers and sisters. But all these fucking Edomites are really just faggots at the end of the day.
It's one of our favorite books because it shows the sufferings that Job went through, but he overcame them. But what most people don't know about Job is that he was a son of Esau. So let's go to the scriptures and take a look at Job chapter 42 in the Septuagint, which is the Greek translation of the Old Testament and one of the oldest translations that we have. It's over 1,000 years older than the Masoretic, which is what most of us read in our modern day translations. Let's take a look. Starting in verse 17, it says, "And it is written that he shall rise again," speaking of Job, "with the ones whom Yahuwah shall raise up."
1 minute. Well, I guess he's got the book. Okay, so that's fine. He's got the book. Let me see if I can get Job 40. What do you say? 42? Oops. Well, it's not going to be in this one. It's only going to be in that little book that he has. It's the, 42 and 17. Okay, yeah, here it is. Found it. All right, cool. Let's let him read, though. Go back.
Which is the Greek translation of the Old Testament and one of the oldest translations that we have. It's
also got some bullshit in it. All right, not in the original scrolls, but shit that's been added. All right.
For 1,000 years older than the Masoretic, which is what most of us read in our modern day translations. Let's take a look. Starting in verse 17, it says, "And it is written that he shall rise again," speaking of Job, "with the ones whom Yahuwah shall raise up." This is speaking of the resurrection that is still to take place. This man is described by the Syriac book as dwelling in the land of Uz, on the borders of Edom and Arabia. And his name before was...
That's Edom, by the way, not Edom.
Jobab. And having taken an Arabian wife, he fathered a son whose name was Enon. And he himself had as father Zerah, from the sons of Esau. Sons of Esau. And his mother was Basor, so that it made him fifth from Abraham. And these were the kings who were ruling in Edom, which territory also he himself ruled. So Job was a king of the Edomites. He was a son of Esau. This man was a ruler. And yet we see that the scriptures clearly teach that he will rise again during the resurrection of the dead. There is neither Jew nor Greek, slave nor free, male nor female, for you are all one in Messiah Yeshua.
There's another one that they get out of context constantly, right? Again, this is nor Greek. When you talk about Jew nor Greek, these are actually dealing with the regular, not your standard Gentiles. But again, for example, was Paul a Benjamite? Yes. Was Paul a Roman? Also yes. All right. Look, was Paul a Roman? Yes. The Apostle Paul was a Roman citizen. Was Paul a Benjamite? Yes, Paul was indeed from the tribe of Benjamin. Was Paul an Israelite? Because of that. Yes, he was an Israelite. But was he a Roman? Yes, he was a Roman. Why though? How can you be a Roman? How can you be, because the Romans, they're Gentiles, they're not. That's why you got to understand the difference, all right? And that's why Yahushua said, but the lost sheep of Israel. Okay, this is Matthew 20. Let's just get Matthew and then we'll scroll down to 20. Let's see. Okay, from 22. And behold, a woman of Canaan came out of the same coast and cried unto him, saying, have mercy on me, O Lord, thou son of David. My daughter is grievously vexed with a devil. Okay? And this woman was, pleading for the Lord. It says, and he answered her not a word, but he answered her not a word. Okay? And his disciples came and besought him, saying, send her away, for she crieth after us. But he answered and said, I am not sent but unto the lost sheep of the house of Israel. And then came she and worshipped him, saying, Lord, help me. But he answered and said, it is not meet to take the children's bread and cast it to dogs. And she said, truth, Lord, yet the dogs eat of the crumbs which fall from their master's table. Then Yahushua answered and said unto her, O woman, great is thy faith, be it unto thee even as thou wilt. And her daughter was made whole from that very hour. Okay? So, being the fact that she could worship, shows a lot about who she is. And then on top of that, he said, where was it? 22. All right. As a matter of fact, let me see something. All right. Now, what nation were Canaanites biblically? They're just Canaanites, pretty much. Were for all native inhabitants. It could be Girgashites, Amorites, Canaanites, Jebusites, Perizzites, Hivites. Anyway, so let's read the same thing, 21 down through 28. It says, Yahushua left that place and went away from the district of Tyre and Sidon. Just then, a Canaanite woman from that region came out and started shouting, have mercy on me, Lord, son of David. My daughter is tormented by a demon. But he did not answer her at all. And his disciples came and urged him, saying, send her away, for she keeps shouting at us. He answered, I was only sent unto the lost sheep of the house of Israel. But she came and knelt before him, saying, Lord, help me. He answered, it is not fair to take the children's food and throw it to the dogs. Okay, basically, it's not fair, for the Israelites to do so. She said, yes, Lord, yet even the dogs eat the crumbs that fall from the master's table. Then Yahushua answered her, woman, great is your faith. Let it be done for you as you wish. And her daughter was healed from that moment. Okay? So what he said right here was very indicative. He said, I was only sent unto the lost sheep of the house of Israel. So if something is lost... Okay, if something is lost, okay, or if you're lost, you don't know where you are. All right, if I'm lost in the woods, I don't know where I am. If I'm in a lost civilization, I don't know where I am or who these people are. If I'm lost, as in, who I'm from, I don't know who I am. Okay, so there were lost sheep of the house of Israel. They didn't know they were of Israel. Okay, and they were scattered abroad. And he specifically told her, "Hey, I'm only sent to the lost sheep of the house of Israel." Right, not just everyone. Okay, not just, I don't just, and again, he even said, went on to say, where was it? It is not meet to take the children's bread and cast it to dogs. Basically, throw something good to just, something that's on a way lower level. That shows you he's not dealing with it. He specifically told her, I am dealing only with the lost sheep of Israel. That's it. Lost sheep of Israel. Only. So when you're talking about, neither Jew nor Greek in Galatians 3 and 28, you get that out of context. Okay? The book of Ephesians, written to Israelites dwelling in Ephesus. The book of Romans, dwelling to Rome, Israelites, scattered abroad in Rome. The book of Corinthians, all right, to the Israelites in Corinth. All right, again, they were lost sheep. They didn't know they were Israelites, okay? They didn't know. So, again, you don't know what you're talking about.
Read your Bibles. Do not fall for tricks like this from the enemy, which just cause...
All right.
So what, don't fall from tricks like this from the enemy. Fucking queer. Anyway, you don't even know what you're talking about, because if you really look into it, let's read this. Okay, you already read it, but... So this is, starting from 16. Now, Job lived, 16b, okay? And all the years he lived were 248 years, and Job saw his sons and the sons of his sons a fourth generation. Now, here's the point in 17. It says, and Job died and full of days, and it was written that he will rise again with those the Lord raises up. This man is interpreted by the Syriac book, okay, as living in the land of Ostatis, all right, on the borders of Idumea and Arabia. Idumea is the land of Edomites. And previously his name was Jobab. Now, there's no proof anywhere that his name was Jobab ever, all right? That's full of shit. It says, now he took an Arabian wife and fathered a son whose name was Enon, and he in turn had a father as Zare. And there's no proof that Zare, all right, Zare was a son of Esau, but there's no proof that Zare fathered Job, okay? So, and then mind you, there's many different names in the Bible. There's two Jobs. There's many Jobabs. There's many people with the same name. That's why you got to understand who you're dealing with, okay? How many people named Jobab in the Bible? This is just an example. 5 different people. A king of Edom, a son of Joktan, a king of Adon, a Benjamite son. So what if he's from there instead of a king of Edom? See, this is the problem. Okay, it says ancient texts like the Septuagint suggest this Jobab was the same person as Job, right? And it's wrong, and we're going to prove you why that is. It says a son of the sons of Esau. Okay, so grandchildren of Esau. So it says these kings who reigned in Edom. Okay, so let's show you why this is bullshit. Okay, let's show you. If we go and look up Job, biblical figure. Okay, and we're gonna scroll down and we're gonna get the history. Where was it? Here it is. In the Greek Old Testament book of Job, in the Septuagint, an ancient Greek translation, okay, we'll read about the Septuagint in a minute, of the Hebrew Old Testament, okay, has a revised and updated final verse that claims Job's genealogy, asserting him to be a grandson of Esau and a ruler of Edom. So these things aren't even in the original Hebrew translation, all right? It's a Greek translation of the Hebrew Old Testament. So it's a Greek translation of the original Hebrew. So they took the original Hebrew, translated it into Greek, and then they took that Greek and then they translated it in English, and that's where they fucked up, all right? That's why you got to make sure you get the original Hebrew and you got to get the original Greek and make sure you're, getting the right understanding of the translations, because all translations go off from time to time. All right, even the King James Version, there's some clerical errors in there. All right, there's one that says born out an Edomite. That should say born out an Assyrian. All right, but that's a clerical error. It's a known clerical error. Right? So that's just the nation of a translation. All right, that's the nation of translation. Right? That's how it goes. So that's why you got to get the original Hebrew and the original Greek when you can. Now, you don't need to get the Greek translation of the Hebrew. You get the Hebrew translation to Hebrew and the Greek translation to Greek. All right, the Old Testament was written in Hebrew. The Greek translation was, the New Testament was written in Greek. Okay, that's how it goes. So you get those scrolls. The Septuagint, all right, goes off, all right, from time to time because there's extra shit that they added in. Okay, now the Septuagint is where we get the certain versions. All right, I believe some of the King James version is what? Let me see. What Bible versions come from the Septuagint? No major version. Like the Orthodox Bible, the Breton Septuagint, right? The Apocrypha, part of that comes from there, but again, does the Septuagint include the Apocrypha? Yes. All right, it included the Apocrypha. What all books did the Septuagint contain? Let me see. I'm trying to find something. Let's see. Just double checking everything, making sure there ain't nothing too crazy. But yeah. Anyway, going back. So, let me try to ask again. What modern Bible translations use the Septuagint? Modern Bible translations, let me move my mic, slack, yep. Modern Bible translations utilize the Septuagint in different ways. Some are translated directly from it as their primary Old Testament, while others primarily use the Hebrew Masoretic text, and that's what you should be using, is the Hebrew Masoretic text. It says the translations using ancient Greek text is the foundation of the Old Testament, making them the closest English equivalent in the scriptures used by the early church. The SAAS, never heard of that. The NETs, never heard of that. The LES, no. Bibles that heavily consult the Septuagint: the ESV, the Christian Standard, the English Standard, and the New American Bible. You can see, what does the KJV use, and what does the NSRV use? The King JV relies strictly on the Hebrew Masoretic text. Good. The NRSV uses an eclectic approach, actively incorporating the Septuagint and the Dead Sea Scrolls to correct the Hebrew text when necessary. And the Dead Hebrew Scrolls, there's a lot of shit that goes, it's mostly some bugged out shit, mostly. But, again, the NRSV is the most standard used academic version, so I use it from quite a lot, right? And now, because you have people arguing, well, if that's what they use in the seminary school, so I'm going to use what the Bible that you were taught to use, all right? And I'm going to show you it in that as well, all right? If you want to be a scholar. So, the King James Version doesn't even fucking contain the Septuagint, all right? The Septuagint is largely bugged the fuck out, all right, for the most part. Why is the Septuagint bugged the fuck out? Because it's not a part of the original Hebrew scrolls. It's a Greek translation of the Hebrew. There's some stuff in there that, like the Apocrypha, that were good, because again, the Apocrypha was originally in Hebrew, but it's lost, all right? So the only lasting version, all right, is in the Greek. And so it says, was the Hebrew version of the Apocrypha lost? Well, they were, all right. It says, no, they were not listed as part of the Hebrew Bible. They originally, it says, the Tanakh, mainstream Judaism, limited its canon, originally written in Hebrew and Aramaic. The Apocrypha emerged in the Second Temple period. While some were originally composed in Hebrew, many of these writings survived primarily in Greek. That's what I asked you. They survived primarily in Greek. So they were originally in Hebrew, but the surviving writings pretty much only in Greek. And they survived. So we do have the Septuagint, through the Lord, to thank for that, because that's pretty much the only way the Apocrypha was preserved, because there's only bits and pieces of it in the original Hebrew. Okay, so most of the Hebrew scrolls for the Apocrypha are missing. I think we talked about this not too long ago. And but they exist in the Septuagint, and that's where we get the modern Apocrypha from, all right, is the Greek translation, which comes from the Septuagint. But again, the Septuagint, dealing with the Hebrew stuff, it goes off. All right, because there's some of it that's correct. All right, and when I say go off, I don't mean goes off at a whole, because again, we have the Apocrypha in there. That's good, but it's for a good majority. A lot of the stuff additions, I'll say the additions in the Septuagint are just full of shit. All right, because where do we get the whole idea that Job is an Edomite? From the Septuagint. Then it has to be at least at some level full of shit. All right, and the King James Version doesn't use the Septuagint at all. All right, and we use the King James Version. Now, there are things about the Septuagint. Again, I'm not going to say the whole thing's full of shit, but a good chunk of it's full of shit. Okay? And that's why you got to be very careful with it. Okay? So it says the Septuagint, an ancient Greek translation of the Hebrew. Well, just get the Hebrew. As a revised and updated version. All right, they revise and update. It says that claims Job's genealogy, asserting him to be the grandson of Esau and the ruler of Edom. And of course, that's what we just read a minute ago. That's what they claim. It's full of shit. Now, let's go and ask Chad about it. I said, what do Jewish rabbis say about Job allegedly being a son of Esau? In Jewish tradition, there are actually multiple opinions about who Job was. One of the notable traditions identifies him with Jobab, an Edomite king that descended from Esau. This idea comes from Genesis 36 and 33, which names Jobab the son of Zerah from Basra, the king of Edom. Since Edom is the nation descended from Esau, Jobab would be an Esauite Edomite. Well, first of all, do Jews use the Septuagint? As far as I know, they don't use anything Greek. Does not use the Septuagint as a primary sacred text and religious practice. They rely on the Masoretic text, okay, authoritative Hebrew and Abrahamic version of the Tanakh, the Hebrew Bible, okay. So no, again, they don't even use the Septuagint, okay. Some good stuff comes from the Septuagint. Some bugged out shit comes from the Septuagint. Okay, there's good and bad. We have the Septuagint, again, through Yahweh Shemi Shai to thank for the surviving copies of the Apocrypha, because again, where'd the Hebrew versions go? Who knows? Who knows? Right? And we have enough of it. There are missing stuff in the Bible. There's the Book of Enoch, and the Book of Enoch that's out there, that's bugged out. There are some missing things, and there might be some things in the Apocrypha that were missing. Could be. But at the end of the day, the Lord gave us what we needed, right? So, and the apostles even talk about that. We have what we need. We have what we need. But there is stuff missing. There's a good chunk of stuff missing. But we have what we need now. All that stuff's going to be revealed in time anyway, right? So, it says the connection between Job and Jobab appears in ancient Jewish sources, and it doesn't though. And Greeks do Jews, rabbis believe Job was an Edomite, and they might. They're not unified on whether he was an Edomite or not. So some might say he is, some might say he's not. The different rabbinic perspectives. So it depends on even the rabbis. So no, they're kind of going off of that. They're saying, oh, rabbi, not all right? So it does say it. Some rabbinic and Jewish traditions went further, and they identified Job with Jobab, the son of Zerah of Basra. Since Zerah was Esau's lineage, Job would therefore be an Edomite. Again, there's no proof anywhere in the original Masoretic text that the individual Job was named Jobab originally, and there's many Jobabs, for example, anyway, or that he was the son of Zerah and Basra. All right, so it's full of shit. And I said, what made him not a son of Esau? And this is where we start getting into some heat. It said, the main reason is simply genealogy. All right, well, this is where it goes off, because I asked him, it basically says, he wasn't a son of Jobab because he would have been a grandson. This makes Job a great-grandson or later descendant of Esau, not a son. I said, well, but right here, check this out. It says, there's another reason why many rabbis don't insist Job was an Esau descendant at all. The book of Job never gives Job's genealogy. There you go. See, chat's bringing it out. It only says he was from the land of Uz. You can be, we're dwelling here. This is a land of, this is an Idumean land in America. Are we Edomites? No, but we're here. All right, so he can dwell in a land and not be an Edomite. He was just there, all right? It says, because of that, rabbis were free to speculate about his identity, and many offered completely different theories. They were arguing with themselves. It says the Talmud records a wide range of opinions. Some rabbis connected him to a patriarchal era, some to Moses' time, some to later periods, with some questioning whether he was a historical person at all. Since there's no explicit statement saying Job was the son of Esau, no rabbinic consensus ever formed around that idea. In short, Job is not called a son of Esau anywhere in Scripture. All right. It says in Jewish tradition, connecting him to Esau identifies him with Jobab. If you had in the tradition that some use, you'd have to use that Septuagint. But again, most rabbis don't use the Septuagint because they focus completely on the Masoretic text. Right? I said, well, the Septuagint says that Job was called Jobab originally, and his father was called Zara, and named as one of Esau's son. And it says, you're touching on a real textual issue, but there's a small genealogical detail that's easy to miss. The Septuagint appendix to the book of Job says something, God damn it. So the Septuagint appendix, its appendix to the book of Job says something along the lines of, this man is described in the Syriac book as dwelling in the land of Uz, on the borders of Idumea and Arabia. His name before was Jobab. His father's name was Zara, the sons of Esau. If you take that statement at face value, see, it's even cutting it, then yes, the Septuagint tradition is explicitly linking Job to Esau's family. The complication is that in the Hebrew text of Genesis 36, Zerah is not listed as one of Esau's direct sons. The genealogy goes Esau, Reuel, Nahath, Zerah, Shammah, and Mazah. So Zerah is actually Esau's grandson through Reuel. Because of this, many scholars think the Septuagint writer was loosely speaking when he said one of the sons of Esau, using sons of the broader biblical sense of descendants. The Bible itself also often does this. For example, sons of Israel can mean the entire nation centuries later, not just Jacob's immediate children. There's more than that. This is the big part. It says, then Job would be Esau's great-grandson if the identification is accepted. What's interesting, here we go. What's interesting is that the Septuagint statement does not come from the original Hebrew book of Job. It's an additional note attached to some Greek manuscripts. So even among Jews and Christians who respected the Septuagint, many did not treat that genealogy as part of the original inspired text itself. That's one reason you find differing traditions. Boom. Boom. So that's just some attached shit. That's some shit they attached, right? That's some shit they attached. For example, that's like, okay, I'm gonna go and find the Hobbit. I mentioned that yesterday, and I'm gonna say that Frodo was actually really a 30-foot tall dragon that went on to destroy the world before Sauron would ever try, and actually, it was actually Frodo that made the ring, and he forged the ring, and he kept the ring, and that, there was no elves at all, and the elves are actually, I can put that in the book. I can put it on a sticky note and stick it in the book. Doesn't mean it's what the book is saying is wrong. It's the fucking sticky note. Rip the fucking sticky note out. It's bullshit. It's full of shit. Okay? It's full of shit. Okay? There's a full of shit appendix. All right, that was added, and most people don't even believe in that. But Esau's going to try to cling on to it, even though most people don't even believe in it. Esau's going to try to cling on to that because they're desperate. They need something. He's trying to circumvent his judgment, as the lesson says. All right? So, this guy's full of fucking shit, man. All right? You're not full of the Holy Spirit. You're full of fucking shit. So, Malachi 1 and 4, this is for you, Esau. Here's some for you. Whereas Edom, now you got me all fucked up. Whereas Edom saith, we are impoverished, but we will return and build the desolate places. Thus saith the Lord of hosts, they shall build, but I will throw down. They shall call them the border of wickedness, and the people against whom the Lord hath indignation forever. Now let's see how if the NRSV goes off, and let's see how far it goes off. If Edom says, we are shattered, but we will rebuild the ruins, the Lord of hosts says, they may build, but I will tear down until they are called the wicked country, the people whom the Lord is angry with whom the Lord is angry with forever. Forever. Right, SpongeBob? So forever. All right? He's angry with them forever. Ever. Forever. 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 Not stopping. He's pissed off at them, and they were called the border of wickedness, i.e., they were called the wicked. Okay? They are the wicked. All right? The wicked country. The wicked. Okay, they were called the wicked. So when you see the scriptures referring to as the wicked, in context, if you see it talking about, the wicked, it's talking about Israel, it's talking about the wicked of Israel. Or a nation's the wicked, it's talking about the wicked of the heathen nations. But a lot of time when you see it as the wicked, THEW_WICKED, when you see it like that, usually it's talking about the Edomites, the Idumeans, all right, the so-called white people. Not all so-called white people, all right. Not all white people, but always a white people. As they try to put that on Jake. But anyway, and they're not always white people. Sometimes they're brown and they're really just an Edomite. So this shows you that, look, the Lord has a bone to pick. Okay, so Malachi 1 and 4 shows. Let me write this down. Shows the Lord has let's go. What did they actually say for indignation? What did they use? Angry has shows the Lord has anger towards Esau forever. All right, and the other thing, remember how we were just doing it in chat, and how it said sometimes it can refer to individuals through their generations later. Well, it's the same people. When we say Esau, Edom, it's the same thing. These people aren't Esau himself, but they're his descendants, so they're Esau. It's the same thing. We're not literally Jacob himself, but we are his descendants, so we're Jake. All right, we're of Jacob. All right, of the Lord through Jacob. So there's one. So Malachi 1 and 4 shows that the Lord has anger towards Esau forever. Okay, on top of that, we got Amos 3 and 2. You only have I known of all the families of the earth, therefore I will punish you for all your iniquities. We're the only ones that the Lord knows. We're the only ones that the Lord loves. All right, you only have I known of the families of the earth. All right, another one would be, what was it in here? No. Did I close it out? Did I not? Did I get it earlier? I don't remember. Hath not dealt so. This is Psalm 147. Oh, it was. And okay, yeah, I see what I did. And then here's this one. So, did I get yeah, I have a couple more I got to get here. Anyway, but before, those are just the ones I got today. Before we get there, we'll get this ahead of time. All right. Psalms 147 and 1 and 2 through context. Praise ye the Lord. For it is good to sing praises unto our power, for it is pleasant, and praise is comely. The Lord doth build up Jerusalem. He gathereth together the outcasts of Israel. There it is, talking about the outcasts of Israel, talking about the lost sheep of Israel. Israel, right? So, if we jump down to 18 through 20, he's talking about some things. Just wanted to show you that he's talking about with Israel. It says, Psalm 147 and 18 through 20, verse 18. He sendeth out his word and melteth them. He causeth his wind to blow and the waters flow. He showeth his word unto Jacob, his statutes and his judgments unto Israel. He hath not dealt so with any nation. As for his judgments, they have not known them. Praise ye the Lord. So he's only dealing with Israel. He's always only dealt with Israel. He's the focus, right? He's the focus. Well, Jacob's the focus. Jake's his focus. All right, so let's get Malachi. Did we already get Malachi 1 and 4? I did. So let's get Amos 1 and 11. And it says, thus saith the Lord, for 3 transgressions of Edom, and for 4 I will not turn away the punishment thereof. Okay, mind you, he offered Jake salvation, repentance. All right, salvation through repentance. Okay, when did he offer that to Esau? He didn't. I will not turn away the punishment thereof, because he did pursue his brother with a sword, and did cast off all pity, and his anger did tear perpetually, and he kept his wrath forever. So again, we get this a lot. Esau hates us and has hated us forever, but this is showing that the Lord is not going to turn away the punishment of Esau, all right, of Edom. Okay, he's not going to. Now, you put all these things into context. All right, you put Malachi 1 and 4 in there, show you that the Lord has anger, indignation against Esau forever. You show that every time he builds up something, the Lord's going to throw down. He's going to destroy it. You see that he's not going to ever turn away the punishment of Esau in any way, any shape, or form. Okay? And then on top of that, you go and get Malachi 1 and 2. through 3, it says, I have loved you, saith the Lord, yet ye say, wherein hast thou loved us? Was not Esau Jacob's brother, saith the Lord? Yet I loved Jacob, and I hated Esau, and laid his mountains and his heritage waste for the dragons of the wilderness. Now, think of all these things in the context. All right, you want to say the Lord loves everybody. Well, first of all, he just said that he doesn't love everybody. He says that he loved Jacob and he hated Esau. But think about it. You had a people that you were a firstborn, all right, and he put the spirit on you to sell your birthright, and it got sold to Jacob, and Jacob got everything and you got nothing. And then you build up these places and the Lord tears down these places. And then, he offered Jacob salvation through repentance, even though he was being wicked by repenting, but he didn't offer you that. And then he talks about how he's only dealing with Israel and not dealing with any other nation like that. And then he goes on to say in Malachi 1 and 2 through 3 that he loved Jacob and he did not love Esau. All right, and then he laid him to waste. Would you do those things to a child that you love? Would you do these things to a child that you love? I'm gonna let you sit with that, okay? Because that's where we're gonna end this lesson on. Would you do those things to a child that you love? If you cared about a child, would you take his toys away and give all those toys to another child? Okay? Would you tell the one child, I love you? Do you love me, Daddy? No, I don't love you. I don't love you. I love Jacob, all right, but I don't love you. I love Jacob. Okay? And I made a mistake. Yeah, well, I have indignation against you forever. Okay. Well, what about me, Dad? Yeah, I'm mad at you. But if you just apologize and and come back and do what I want, I won't have any harm, no foul against you. Right? Think about that. Was that other child loved? No, he was hated, just as it said in Malachi 1 and 3. So that's where we're going to close out. If you can't get it, Esau, you can't get it. All right? If a cracker can't get it, we're moving on. So that's how it's going to go. If you don't like it, that's the way the cookie crumbles. Don't eat the fucking crumbs then. All right? Just cry and drink the milk. All right? So too bad, so sad. See ya. Wouldn't want to be a sayonara. Hasta luego. Ciao, ciao. Bonjour. Until the next one. Later. So sad. Too bad. Womp womp. There you go, Esau. So with that, I'm going to close out. Lord willing, lesson was edifying. Again, I want to give all praise, honor, and glory to the Most High, Yahweh, Ba'ashem Yahweh Shai, Ba'ashem Rakak Wadash. Shalom to you brothers and sisters out there. Keep enduring. Keep the faith. We're almost out of here. Until you Edomites, stay salty.